A. Is this the face of a hardened criminal? I say no. I say this is the face of a man who just wants to make his granddaughter proud. So guys, if you believe in truth, if you believe in justice, and if you believe in the good old American way, you'll give Nick Milano another chance. Bravo! Bravo!
Oh, Tony, you were wonderful. Just like Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
I was glued to my chair.
Come on, you're probably sitting in gum.
Hello, welcome back to Ayo, Away, the Who's the Boss podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Kevin.
Did you forget to talk there for a second?
Yeah, we have a new layout tonight. We're
in a different part of our living room.
So
yeah,
we're trying something different. So I got confused.
Yeah, okay. He confuses easily.
I do.
Our kids really think it's funny too, the way I always pause between the Ayo, Away, the Who's the Boss podcast. They like to say that and make fun of me, but I think it's cute.
Yeah, who cares what they think?
Sorry, I had to mute something. Okay, so here we are. There's no new Who's the Boss news.
No, and there hasn't been.
No, and when are we going to start hearing? Okay, so we're recording this on November 7th, so now the elections are over. I know that was taking up a lot of Alyssa Milano's focus, so I wouldn't imagine that they
maybe
would have started shooting or anything before that. But I really am just curious.
There's no way they would have started shooting.
I mean, no, but I do have the impression from something she said early on that they are writing scripts. Because I remember her saying something about how she'd only read a few pages so far. So I'm really curious as to where they are in the process.
Yeah,
here.
right. What constitutes writing? I mean, I know what writing scripts means, but
type words.
No,
and
I mean, who's sitting around writing them? Is it actual writers?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, but I guess you're saying they would have already hired writers and stuff.
Right. Meaning they have writers. They're writing.
Yeah. Although they may have also gone to the production company with a script. So yeah, I'm really curious. I wish there was some, but maybe now that the elections are over, we'll hear a little bit more. So that'd be nice. Okay, but today we're going to talk about season 2, episode 10. This episode is called The Prodigal Father-in-Law. It first aired on December 3rd, 1985, and the TV Guide summary says Tony's father-in-law breaks out of prison to visit Samantha, who vowed never to speak to him again after learning of his imprisonment. So I thought I was going to have a juicy story about the writers here, because the writers of this episode is Sherry Steinkellner and Bill Steinkellner. But noted
brother and sister?
No, noted next to Sherry's name, it said written by, and then it says as Sherry Eichen. So I was like, oh, that's really sweet if they met each other on this show and were writing it and then fell in love and got married.
No,
I looked it up and they were already married. So she just must have been using her maiden name for a while before. So yeah, they got married in 1982. But it's still sweet that it was a married couple writing some stories together. So on most episodes, this couple is listed as the story editors. But this episode they wrote. So, all right, let's get started. Now, when this episode starts, Jonathan and Mona are playing gin rummy. I've never played gin rummy.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly how to play it. I mean, obviously I don't because I've never played it. But Jonathan knows how to play it.
It is.
Do we really want to know?
If you'd like. I get no.
Give me the short summary.
The short summary? You never get the short summary from me. Come on. It's just Gin Rummy, or just simply Gin, is a 2-player game created in 1909 by Elwood T. Baker.
Okay, this is not the short summary.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's as short as it gets. I mean, you want to know who invented it, right? Elwood T. Baker and his son, C. Graham Baker. It says it has enjoyed widespread popularity as both a social and gambling game, especially during the mid-20th century. That's
Okay,
I think
so that
that's
was,
good information.
Like, 1950s?
Yes.
Okay.
Mid-20th century. And remains today as one of the most widely played two-player card games.
Really? Most widely played.
See?
Two-player. Huh. Okay.
Today. Remains today.
All right. Well, then there was information in there that I didn't know.
See?
And now I do.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so Jonathan knows how to play gin rummy because he's winning. And he tells Grandma she owes him $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, will you take some ice cream instead? And he says no. So Angela and Samantha and Tony...
I like that they have... They portray Jonathan as this, like, entrepreneur.
Right,
You know, he's always out for money, and he's a little smart kid.
Yep. Let's see how that goes with the reboot. Well, if Jonathan's in it, which hopefully he will be. So Angela, Tony, and Samantha come home. They were out. It looks like Tony was like at the grocery store, maybe with Samantha, and then picked up Angela from work. Because I can't imagine Angela went grocery shopping with them in that outfit because she's pretty done up. So as they're coming in the door, Angela's like, what? So what did you say to the guy when he cut you off? And Tony's like, oh, that was Italian for have a nice day.
Mm-hmm. Which is not true.
No.
Probably.
I mean, right, I'm sure it's not true. So she comes in and Mona's like, you know, your son here, at this point, I think she owes Jonathan $2 million. So Mona's like, your son here's taking all my money.
Don't you want to know what have a nice day is in Italian?
Oh, of course.
You never asked.
Oh, I'm
me.
sorry. Yes, of course I want to know what have a nice day is in Italian.
Okay.
Buona giornata.
Would you like that again?
Buona giornata.
Please. What is that? Is that Google?
Yeah, it's Google.
Google Italian?
Buona giornata.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
It's probably not what he said.
So that's information that I didn't know before.
Okay.
And that I do now.
Buona giornata.
So Mona's like, playing with your son here is like Nick the Greek. So
hang on.
Yeah, okay.
I got that too.
Yep.
I'm very active in the beginning of this episode. Nicholas Andreas Den Dolos.
That's what I would think too.
Right? When you think that? Mm-hmm. He was the son of wealthy parents. Anyway, he basically was... he was just commonly known as Nick the Greek, and he was a professional gambler and high roller. Nice. Professional gambler and high roller. So, but the thing about that is, with the reference she makes, I mean, it's the 80s, and he was, like, I guess, prominent, or whatever you want to say, from 1883 until, or he was born in 1883, until 1966. Yes. And then she makes that reference, so maybe adults back in the 80s would have known who he was. He was only 20 years later after he died. So... Plus, they probably would have known who he was. So it's really a joke for the adults.
Right, definitely a joke for the adults. And coming from the grandmother of the family. So it would make sense that she would reference him because she's the oldest one in this family.
Yeah, Nicky the Greek.
So, okay, yeah. So she's like playing with this kid as Nick the Greek. And
Nick the Greek, sorry.
Angela asked Jonathan if she had any phone calls while they were out. I guess Jonathan takes the phone calls, not Mona. She just babysits. And he recites every message from memory. And they're all from Jim Peterson. So we have a Jim Peterson reference again. The Weasley guy from Wallace and McQuaid. And he gave Jonathan different numbers as to where he would be at different times. And Jonathan has them all memorized. And everyone's impressed. And Angela's like, that's so great. Did you do your homework? Oh, no, I forgot.
Yeah, but he remembered all the phone numbers.
Yes. So Jonathan also remembered a message that Tony got. Someone called about Nick Milano. His parole hearing has been changed. Now, the room gets a little tense because Samantha's standing there, and they're like, what was that about? And Samantha's confused. She's like, my grandpa's in Florida. Right. And they're like, oh, yeah, there's no parole in Florida. So Angela says, are you sure that they didn't say payroll? Maybe the phone call was for me. And Jonathan says, oh, okay. Well, then Nick's payroll hearing has been moved from the courthouse to the jail. Hearing. So Angela and Jonathan give Tony and Samantha some privacy. They go upstairs. Angela's like, I'll help you with your homework. And Tony has to talk to Samantha now because even though we didn't see this, I guess, at the end of the last time we saw Nick, he didn't tell Samantha that Grandpa was going to jail. They just told her that he was going to be in Florida.
Right.
So
Moving to Florida.
Yeah. So Sam's upset that Tony lied to her, and she's like, you didn't have to hide this from me. I'm not a kid. And she's like, I'm 13 now. And Tony's like, well, when you went to jail, you were 12. So she asks what he did, and he explains that he sold stolen auto parts. And then when he got caught, he bribed a judge. Mm-hmm. And then it was just a hop, skip, and jump away from tax evasion.
Yeah.
So Samantha's really upset. She says she never wants to see her grandfather again. And she runs upstairs. Now, the funny thing is, as she's going upstairs, Angela's coming downstairs. And, when you're watching this show, you think that upstairs is, the other part of their house. But Judith and Danny are just standing at a little platform at the top of the stairs while they're having the whole conversation. And then Judith comes back downstairs and Danny's still standing up there. Yeah. So it's just funny to think that, when you're immersed in this story, you don't really think about the fact that there are just two actors standing at the top of the stairs on a little platform.
Right, they really didn't go to a room or whatever. Yeah,
there's nothing up there. So Angela comes back downstairs as Samantha goes up. And Tony's like, she took that better than I thought, even though she's very upset. So at the penitentiary, am I saying that right? Penitentiary.
Penitentiary.
Yeah, I tripped over that.
Yeah,
okay.
Right there, penitentiary. It says it right there on the screen.
Angela's gone with Tony. So that's really cute that she would go with him to go visit Nick. And she's like, it's not that bad in prison.
Right. Meanwhile, they're in some waiting area.
Right. They're in a waiting area waiting for Nick to come out for the parole hearing. And he's like, that's because you get to go home today instead of 1997.
I know.
But
Crazy.
1997 probably seemed like a really long time.
I know.
And now it's so long ago.
23
years ago. That's so crazy.
I know.
But Tony tells her, I really appreciate that you've come with me. And she says that she wants them to know that Nick has some upstanding citizens on his side. Now, there's a guy in the waiting room that's kind of staring at Angela and making her a little uncomfortable. Yeah. But not Mona. Mona likes it. So as Mona's coming in, you can hear men catcalling her in the halls. I guess, apparently, to get to this waiting room, you walk by a bunch of cells.
All the jail cells. What is happening?
So
why is Mona there?
Because it's Nick.
Yeah, all right.
It's basically, it's her jail boyfriend, pretty much. Yeah.
Jail boyfriend.
So she comes in, and she's like, oh, those poor guys. They probably haven't had you-know-what in years. And Tony's like, Mona, this prison allows conjugal visits. So she's like, oh, all right. Well, then I haven't had it since lunch. So,
since lunch.
And all of the guys who are also the other inmates who are in the waiting room are very excited for Nick to show up. When he does show up, he's like Mr. Popularity. Everybody really likes him. They're cheering for him. They're excited that he's going to be up for parole. And Tony even says to Angela, since Nick's been in here, something strange has happened because he's nice. So Nick is happy to see Angela and Tony, but he's really happy to see Mona.
Yeah. Who isn't? The whole place is happy to see Mona.
So he calls his friends over and he introduces his friends to the family. One of the inmates, who is the most vocal here, his name is Torch, and he is played by an actor named Blackie. Now, do you think it's Dammett? So is it Demet? Even though there's no E?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Demet.
Yeah. It'd be awesome if it was just Dammit.
But you know what?
Yeah.
It could be. It could be Dammit.
It could be Dammit? Okay.
Yes.
So I looked him up on IMDb. He did some small parts here and there throughout the 80s, but nothing that you would really recognize him from. But I was interested to realize that he was born in 1939, so he's 10 years older than Tony and Angela here, even though he doesn't really look it.
No, he doesn't, because I have some information on him.
Oh, okay.
Blackie Demet, and which is why I think it could be Dammit, is not his real name.
Oh.
His name is John Michael Kiedis, father of Anthony Kiedis.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. From the Red Hot Chili. That's why I didn't want to tell you before. From the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's the father of Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which explains why he looks so young, because he has good genes.
Right.
Because Anthony Kiedis is like ageless, or he was for years. Like that guy. Yeah, he's Anthony Kiedis' father. His name is John Michael Kiedis. His stage name is Blackie, which probably is Dammit.
Right.
It'd be just based on that family.
Now that you say that, when I look at him,
That's what I'm saying. When you look at him, you can totally see he looks like Anthony Kiedis. It's crazy.
Look, you brought some good information to the table.
Thank you. This I discovered just minutes ago when we had to take a pause. So, yes, that's who that is. That's
really cool.
It's pretty cool. So anyway.
So he's introducing them to everyone.
He's 80 years old now.
Wow.
Which has to be, because I knew that Anthony Kiedis is up there.
Yeah, yeah. So Anthony Kiedis' father, also known as Torch, tells Angela, "You're pretty." And so Nick sits Mona down and starts reciting. I
like that Tony says, "Hey Torch, what's cooking?"
Of course.
Stupid with the Torch.
So Nick sits Mona down and starts reciting poetry, and Torch is like, "He's so good at that." And everyone is kind of amused at how different Nick is since going to prison. So Nick tells Tony that he cannot wait to get out and see Sam. And Tony lets him know that Sam does know that he is in prison and not in Florida. Mm-hmm. So now Nick's pissed, and nice Nick goes away, and the two of them start yelling at each other again. He's calling him a loser, and it's right back to regular Nick Milano. Now, at the parole hearing, Torch is giving this tearful testimony for Nick, saying how he's made him something that he never thought he could be, which is a friend.
Nice.
And then he calls him Cupcake.
I know, it gets odd.
Yeah, so I'm really wondering, okay, so he calls him Cupcake. And then Tony leans forward and looks at Nick and questions the fact that this man just called him Cupcake. And then Mona, who we're supposed to think is the closest thing that Nick has to a girlfriend, says innocently, "Oh, he must work in the prison bakery." So are they trying to insinuate that Nick and Torch were having an affair? I know, it's an odd scene. It is really kind of odd, and I think that they might be trying to insinuate that. Right, at some point, something went down between Nick and Torch. At least cuddling or something, maybe. Yeah, something to make him call him Cupcake. So I know it's out there. It's very out there. The whole scene is odd, yeah. And I wouldn't have thought it so much if it wasn't for the way Mona reacts to it, because she's making an excuse about it and acting all innocently. Anyway, so the parole officer wants to hear from Nick's relatives, not just his friends in prison. So they ask, "Is anyone here a relative?" Tony stands up. So Tony starts off his testimony saying that for years, Nick's name has meant thief, liar, all-around rotten guy. So it's not looking good for Nick. It looks like it's going to go south. But Tony turns it around and says, since Nick has been here, I really do think that he's changed. And, he's proud now to call him Nick. Right. Nick. Not father. Or Cupcake. Or Nick. And that he thinks that Nick should get another chance. And it's a really good speech. Tony had to have been sitting up the night before writing that. He couldn't have just pulled that out of his butt, you think? No, I don't think so. So he was going to a parole hearing, so yeah, maybe. So he says, this is the face of a man who just wants to make his granddaughter proud, and he's petting his head and being all sweet to Nick. So after this heartfelt speech, the parole officers are kind of all talking to each other, and Angela and Mona and Nick are all very excited. They think this is it. He's getting out. Coming home. You made a great speech. But no, the parole officers all say that he has been denied parole. And I wonder why. Yeah, they don't really explain why. Do they consider him a flight risk or I don't know.
You had Torch's good testimony or
Right.
whatever. He said nice things, and Tony said some nice things. But I don't know. It's odd that he was just denied without explanation.
Right. So they do deny him. So Mona, Tony, and Angela go home, and they're all so angry coming in the front door. And Angela's like, when I see injustice like this, it just makes me want to... And Tony's like, eat? And she's like, yes. So they're going into the kitchen, and Mona says, if anyone deserves to be free, it's Nick. And why? I mean, I don't know. Like, really? Mona feels that strongly about Nick being free? But
I guess.
They go into the kitchen, and there is Nick. He's eating a turkey leg, drinking a glass of wine, and says, I'll drink to that.
Where'd he get the turkey leg?
Out of the refrigerator.
I guess so.
Yeah, he just made himself at home, poured a glass of wine. He probably put some sweet and low in that wine, but they didn't show us that part.
That's right.
Remember?
I forgot about that, yeah. Put the sweet and low in the wine.
So Tony says, how did you get out? Angela asks, how did you get in? And,
Right.
or no, maybe Mona. And then somebody asks, how did you get here? So he explains that he got out of jail and he took a taxi to the house. So Angela's like, I'm really new at the prison game, but it seemed like they wanted you to stay for a few more months.
I know.
And Nick's like, those men wouldn't know a reformed man. So he said he took it to a higher court. He went back to his jail cell and he said, Lord, if you want me to stay, give me a sign. And nothing happened, so he left. And I love Mona.
Fair enough.
Mona has this dramatic story as to how he got out. Like he pretended to be asleep, but put stuff underneath the bed sheets. And then by the time they realized it, he was outside. And he's like, no, not really. He's like, I borrowed this uniform and walked out the front door. And he stands up and he's wearing a uniform for a water delivery service.
Right.
So
and he has a water bottle.
And he does.
One of those
Yeah.
5-gallon water.
Yeah. So that's how he got out. Just pretty much walked out the front door. And he says that he couldn't stay there knowing that Sam was so upset with him. But Tony's like, Nick, you were going to be out in a few months.
Right.
And now they're going to come for you and they're going to bring guys with guns. And now Angela's nervous. Angela's like, here?
Right.
She's picturing like a SWAT team surrounding her house at any moment.
I know.
And I love, so she goes over to one of the windows and she pulls down the shade. And the shade just like bounces right back up and snaps at the top. And I wonder if that was supposed to happen or if that was just...
Yeah, that's just one of those...
Yeah.
It just happened and they
It
kept
just
going.
happened and they kept it or something because it is pretty funny. It was great. So she's all nervous. And Tony's like, they're not going to just surround the house right now. And she's like, I'm very sorry, but this is my first fugitive.
Right. Which is funny.
So this is another one of those moments where Angela's like, I love Tony being here. He's a great housekeeper, but sometimes he really brings chaos into the house. Sometimes she's had to pretend to be his wife. Sometimes his father-in-law's broken out of prison. It's always exciting.
I know, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Angela tells Nick that she wants him to go back to prison. And Nick pleads with her just to let him talk to Sam. So Angela's like, okay, Tony, you need to come in the living room with me. We got to talk. So they go out into the living room and she says to him, I know this is painful, but you have to turn him in.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony says, where he comes from, you don't rat out family, even if it's your in-laws.
Even if it's your in-laws.
And he's like, that's the code of the street. And she says, well, where she comes from, they abide by the law, and that's the code of the cul-de-sac.
I know, I thought that was funny. The code of the cul-de-sac. That made me laugh.
That was funny.
And you could just tell she just pulled that out of nowhere.
Yeah. Back in the kitchen, Nick is slobbering all over Mona.
I know. It's very bizarre.
It is. Like, he has his face in her boobs, and he's really just, like, rubbing his face all over her.
I know. And then they take a closer shot.
And it's even worse.
It's the same thing. And, like,
Yeah.
his face, his cheek is literally on her left boob.
I know.
Like, what is happening in this scene?
And she tells him to tell her everything. Tell her the worst thing about doing time. And he says, the mixer with the women's prison. He's like, those women were mean. He's like, nothing like you. You have grace and all your teeth. No.
Why would there be a mixer with a woman's prison?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't make any
Because they're
sense.
allowed conjugal visits, so maybe
a
they
mixer.
got to make
they're
friends.
prisoners. We're having a mixer.
Well, I guess it's only medium security, so maybe. But why are the women in the medium security so mean?
I don't know.
So back
Why don't I
in
have
the,
any teeth?
they're kind of like going back and forth between the kitchen and the living room in this part, and Angela and Tony are still talking. She's like, he's a fugitive. Tony's like, Angela, he's family. And she's like, well, he's putting his family in jeopardy right now. And Tony just wants to let Nick stay long enough to be able to see Samantha. And
Well, hang on, though. There's one interesting thing about the scene is that she points out that he's putting her family in jeopardy.
oh, right.
And then he's like, well, Angela's family. And then, or she says, I have a family to think about or whatever. But then when she says, you're putting your family in jeopardy, then he gets angry.
It's all, right.
Right, he's like,
Because he's like, I just want to let him say something to Samantha. And she's like, you're putting Samantha in jeopardy also.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess he finally realizes, she's right.
Right.
Angela's right.
Right.
He's got to go back. And then they go back in the kitchen and the slobbering stops. I don't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And if you notice, when they go back in the kitchen, at that point, Mona's like on him.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. So then they kind of move.
was happening?
So she's laying on him, and then she says, he's like, we could be magic together. Let's go back up to your apartment. This is before Tony and Angela actually walk in.
Right.
And she's like, I don't know. I've never been with a hardened criminal before.
Yeah. Ba-doom-ts.
Yeah, I really think that's an erection joke, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I've never been with a hardened criminal.
Because it comes back later.
Hey-yo.
But yeah, I think they're really kind of insinuating more there
Yeah,
than
they are.
It's all kind of a little blah, blah. Anyway, so yeah, so they go back into the kitchen. Mona and Nick break apart, and Angela's like, okay, you got to talk to him, but it's like he's sitting right there.
Right.
So and Tony's like, okay, I'm working up to it.
I know, and I always love that TV, the old like TV sitcom. When someone's whispering in a room, they pretend like the other people in the room can't hear them.
Right, yeah.
But it's like this loud talking that obviously someone can hear you.
Right. Yeah, even if you're in the other room talking, you'd be able to hear it. So Tony's like, okay, Nick, you got to hit the road. So Nick says that he's going to go to Rio. He's not going back to prison. And Angela's like, okay, great. Have a nice flight.
Yeah, see ya.
But Nick begs Angela, please, just let me stay long enough to see Sambina. And just then, Sam comes home. So she walks into the kitchen, and Nick's like, hi, it's Grandpa. And she says, I don't have a grandpa. And she walks out. So Tony follows her, and he's like, you wanted to be treated like an adult. So now's your chance. You need to talk to him. And she's like, well, that's the great thing about being 13. You can go either way. So Nick follows them out. And that is one of those scenes where, like, how does Samantha not see Nick come out the door?
Right.
Because he comes into the living room and they just keep talking as if he's not there. But so Nick asks to speak to Sam alone. And Tony's like, well, that's Sam's decision. She agrees. And so Tony leaves him and Sam alone. And she comes out and says, if you really loved me, why would you do all these rotten things? And he says basically that he is rotten and that it's who he is. Yeah, he's no good. Nothing good has ever come out of him except for her mother and her. Mm-hmm. Which I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And he tells Sam, there are two kinds of people in this world. There's the good kind and the bad kind. And he says, your dad is the best kind. But don't tell him that I ever said that.
Yeah, and it's nice that he acknowledges that Tony's good.
Yeah.
Even though for some reason he can't tell him.
Right. No, never. Yeah, so they make up, to a point. She's still upset with him, but she's like, well, I guess you were my grandpa before you were a crook.
Right. I don't hate you, but I hate the things you do.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
But I love how he does the math to see if he really was her grandpa before he was a crook.
I know.
And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I was. So Sam's like, well, but the great thing is you made parole. And he's like, ah. So he's thinking about lying to her. He does lie to her a little bit. And then finally he tells the truth. And he's like, I didn't make parole. I broke out of prison. So now she's like, talk about making bad choices. Like, you need to go back to prison. Back in the kitchen, Angela, Mona, and Tony are waiting for Sam and Nick to finish their conversation. Everyone's a bit on edge. They don't know what's going to happen. And then there's a knock at the back door. And it's Jonathan because the house is locked and he can't get in.
Wait, what was happening? Like, I guess he was out and about with his friends.
Yeah, you might.
But
Yeah,
it's just funny.
But I love how Angela.
I love these little scenes with Jonathan that are so bizarre.
And I love how on edge Angela is here, and she's like, "It's Jonathan. What do I do?"
Right? Like, you let him in.
Right? Yeah. Mona's like, well, when you were a kid, I'd let you in, but maybe that's where I went wrong. Right. And Angela's like, no, he's impressionable, and this could be psychologically damaging for him. Oh,
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah, and Tony's just like, whatever. And as she's still talking, he opens the door to let Jonathan
in. And he doesn't
in.
know. Like, whatever.
No. But, okay, we need to pause in the storyline here to point out the fact that Jonathan has an awesome Walkman.
Oh, yeah. I know, it's huge.
I don't think our kids have seen this episode because I normally haven't shown them the ones that I don't think that they would really like, and personally I had no interest in rewatching this one beforehand. Right. But we need to show them that just so they can see what you used to have to listen to music on. And
it was way bigger than a phone,
right? As opposed
and had one tape phone with maybe 10 songs on it.
Right, or the radio.
Crazy. Yeah,
but not all of them
had radio. Yeah.
Well, this one does for sure because it's going to play into the storyline. But yeah, I don't know that necessarily all of them did.
Right.
So Jonathan comes in. He's not at all psychologically damaged. He's like, "Oh, hey, everyone!" And Nick walks into the kitchen. He's like, "Hi, Nick. How's prison?"
How's prison? I know, that was funny.
Nick's like, "It's a drag, kid." He's like, "Yeah, so school."
Yeah, and then move on.
Yeah. So Tony's like, let me borrow that Walkman because maybe there's some news about that psychologically damaging fugitive that's on the run. So Nick comes in, he tells Tony, how wonderful Sam is and that she really is a great little girl. And she wants him...
So honest.
Yes, very honest. And she wants him to turn himself in and go back to prison. And they're like, oh, that's great. And he's like, yeah, but that's a very tough decision. And if I have to choose between prison and Rio, I'm still choosing Rio. Nick says goodbye to Mona, and she says, I'll think of you every time I see a Carmen Miranda movie. Did you look that up?
I did.
Okay,
I have.
I totally forgot.
Of course I looked it up.
Thank you.
What are you talking about? I always have the latest information. Right. Basically, while there's not a lot here, except for the fact that Carmen Miranda was a Portuguese-born Brazilian samba singer and dancer.
Okay.
And an actress.
Did she live in Rio?
Brazil.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, she's from Brazil, which is Rio de Janeiro. Uh-huh. So that's really the only connection that I have.
Okay. But that makes sense. I mean,
every time she sees
they must have been
her,
very like.
I guess she'll think.
Yeah.
Of him. She died young at 46, actually, Carmen Miranda, and she was 1955. Again, another
much
older reference.
Yes,
yeah.
But coming from the grandmother in the family, so it makes sense. Now, meanwhile, Tony, if you look in the bottom of the screen as Mona is saying goodbye to Nick, Tony is putting on the headphones.
Yeah, here we go.
And he's listening, and he's like, "Oh wait, there's some news about prison." And they're like, what? And he's like, oh, it's not about you, but it's about how there's overcrowding. So every prisoner who has less than a year should be out by the end of the week. And I love how Angela is so excited about this news that she gets up from the table and goes around to stand behind Tony as if she can see something right on the Walkman. So
but the funny thing is, though, is like he's trying to, she sells it, but he's like, the governor is saying it's crowded, whatever. Right. But then she says general amnesty. Yeah. Like she says the actual correct term. And he's like, yeah, that.
Right.
Yeah, this is funny,
Now, Angela must have figured it out right here, because if she really thought that a bunch of prisoners were getting out by the end of the week, she'd probably be very nervous, knowing Angela. So Nick's like, oh, well, I can sneak back in, and they won't even know that I've left.
However, he's going to do that.
Right. Well, he's got his little outfit on, so I guess
delivering
maybe they need
water.
to, but they're probably going to have to fill that water bottle up with the hose in the backyard first.
I know.
So he's not walking in with an empty one. So Sam comes in the kitchen right then, and she's like, Grandpa, did you talk about, have you thought about what we talked about? And he's like, yes, and I am going back to prison. So he joyously runs out the door to go hail a cab. And Mona's like, oh, I'll go give him a ride, because he probably won't be able to get a taxi right now.
And Mona walks out the door with the water.
Yes.
The water bottle.
Right. He also
So
forgot
she knows
the water
that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
You're going to fill the water bottle back up, and he's going to sneak back in as the water bottle delivery person, whatever that was. Whatever he was.
And now Sam's happy. She feels like she really helped her grandfather make the right decision. So she runs out. She's like, I'm going to go say goodbye to him. So Angela and Tony are left alone in the kitchen. And this is a really cute moment, I thought.
Yeah.
Where she's like, wow, that news report came in
right when you needed it.
Yeah, just in time.
Right.
And so Tony's like, oh, you mean you think I lied? And she's like, there's really no general amnesty? So they both start giggling, and he's like, nope, but the jets are up. So I had forgotten this about the headphones, but I guess you could pop one out. He pops a headphone out of his headset and brings it around her head so that she can also hear what he's listening to, which is actually the Jets game.
Yes.
So...
And I do remember about those headsets.
I had forgotten that.
Or we used to do it all the time.
Maybe I didn't have fancy enough ones. I don't remember.
Okay. I grew up with the fancy headsets. You had the bottom of the barrel, low-grade headsets.
So a few weeks later, Jonathan's at the window. He's got his face pressed up against, looking out, waiting for Samantha and Tony to come home. And they pull up in front of the house, and he's like, they're back! He runs into the living room, and Angela and Mona are playing cards. And he's like, Mom, how come I didn't get to go to prison?
Right.
And Angela's like, because Samantha's grandfather is in prison. And Jonathan's like, man, what a jip. And you said that you looked that up, and it's offensive?
I think it's short for gypsy.
Yeah.
It says a gyp is a I don't know this word.
Pejorative?
Pejorative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And sometimes offensive word for cheating or swindling.
Yeah, okay. I guess
So,
I was never...
It just comes from...
Gypsy.
From gypsy.
Yeah, and I never thought that it was spelled GYP. And I feel like I've possibly used that word within the last 10 years.
I'm sure you have, not even knowing exactly what it meant.
Yeah. I'll just say robbed from now on.
Yes. Don't say chips.
So Sam and Tony come in, and they're like, oh, hello. And Angela's like, so is Nick talking to you yet? And Tony says, yeah, but it's mostly Italian for have a nice day.
Which means he's mad.
Right. So one thing I love about this scene is it's kind of a bookend to the opening scene. Because in the opening scene, Mona and Jonathan are playing cards, and Samantha and Tony and Angela come in, and they're having the conversation about have a nice day as to what he said to the person who cut him off. And so now they're bringing that back at the end. So I just thought that was very clever writing. I really enjoyed that.
Buona giornata.
Sorry. I was trying to surprise you with it.
So Samantha shows that one of Grandpa's friends made her a license plate that says Sambina.
I know, it's so funny. It's like that's what you do in prison. You make license plates.
Yeah. But that guy's in maximum security, so he makes license plates. Nick is in minimum or medium security, so he only makes business cards. But he did make one for Mona. So he hands Mona the business card that says Nick Milano, hardened criminal.
Yeah, of course.
Again, pretty sure that's a penis, Jim.
Yeah, yes.
And then Tony's like, oh, and Angela, you got something as well. So he pulls out a letter from her secret admirer, Torch. And as he places it, I love how they just happen to have this little copper bowl on the coffee table.
Of course, yes.
And as he places the letter into the copper bowl, it explodes into a little burst of fire.
Torch.
Yeah, Torch. And that's the end of the episode.
And that's the episode, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what that really is. Do they have... Is that like some kind of magic trick where the paper
probably whatever was in the bowl, like counteracted,
right?
Or
some sort of chemical reaction
with the paper that he put.
Right.
If you look at him when he puts the paper in, it looks like it's soaked in something, or it doesn't look like it's. Yeah, it looks like it was like dipped in something.
And that's it. That is the episode.
Yeah.
I'll go first with the rating. I gave this one a 7.
7.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry.
I thought the writing was good. It was tight. I enjoyed the little bookend of the beginning and the end. But the Nick episodes, I don't know. I never enjoy them all that much. Mm-hmm. I kind of find him annoying.
Well, this is it, right?
No, there's one more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought this was.
Yeah, that originally I did think he was only in 2, but when I looked it up on IMDb, he is in 3, and then he's spoken about in 1. So I don't know. I just kind of always consider them filler. Mm-hmm. How about you?
I'll go with the same. I think it's about a 7.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It was like kind of like uneventful. You're right. It felt like a filler episode. Basically, like got to fill a certain amount of episodes each season. So what can we do? Oh, we can bring Nick.
Right.
He can escape out of prison and then check himself back in. So I agree for sure. 7.
Who's the boss around here? Me, or my mother, or maybe it's you?
Okay, so at first, I thought Angela was the boss because of how she was trying to take control of the situation, especially when Nick busted out of jail. But I think overall Samantha was the boss.
Oh, Samantha.
Yeah, because she was upset with him at first. She made it very clear she wasn't happy that he was such a criminal, like from the get-go, and never really let him off the hook for that. And I always thought that was good. I mean, she finally says, it's not that I don't like you, I just don't like the things you do,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know, I felt like maybe it was Samantha. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I went with Tony, but I kind of think that maybe I'm wrong.
No, there's no wrong or right answers here.
That's right. I only went with Tony because he tricked him into getting him to go back.
That's good. It's a good argument.
So, yeah. But I went with Tony with his
Not as good as my Samantha argument, but no, I'm just kidding. I was just kidding.
But Angela was just in panic mode.
Right, which is why at first I thought, but then it was like, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, Jonathan's at the door. What do I do?
There's going to be men with guns surrounding the house.
Well, he's probably better off inside than outside.
Right, exactly. Don't leave him out there.
I know, right?
Okay, you have the song?
I do. This is from the group Stay Tuned, the Ultimate Television Rock Experience. And that's them performing Brand New Life.
Nice. Okay, yeah. And I think this is our last song. Unless we can find some more, you're going to have to sing now at the end of every episode.
Which I have no problem doing. But we've scoured the internet, so...
Yeah, we have. If anybody knows of any other ones we've missed, please...
Send them our way, or you're going to hear me sing next week.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and tell all your friends. And give you a big pat on the back.